Hi there. So James Kleinman, the Queer Review.
How are you doing?
And
Lovely to see you again.
yes, well, I was there, yeah, at Outfest at the LA premiere for the opening
I
night,
remember,
and
I remember.
it was a very special night as an audience member. But what was it like for you guys to see the film, in Hollywood with the LGBTQ plus community there?
It was insane. It was like my first like red carpet, my first time watching the film with an audience that wasn't people who made the film. You know, we were in a graveyard. You could see the Hollywood sign from where we were watching the movie. Artie from Glee was there. Such a weird night, but it was great. Yeah,
For me, it was like really surreal. Like one of my really closest friends, Lydia, who was the person that basically encouraged me to step forward through fear to put myself forward for this role, got to sit next to me and be my date for that night. And that was, it was such a special evening to have her there with me, to be honest.
It was our first audience, really.
Yeah.
And it was a first audience. It was fantastic. It was enormous. There were over 2,000 people. It felt like there were 2,000 people there, And it was lovely to sit in the response of that audience, and to feel the love, the laughter, the joy, that came out. And it was I would say, describe it as moving. It was very moving.
Well, it was moving for me watching it as well, but sort of lovely to hear your perspective. And Max, this is obviously based on a true story, and I wondered what interaction you might have had with Jamie Campbell and what insight that gave you.
Yeah, I was really lucky. I got to meet Jamie before I started shooting, and we had many conversations about his life, beyond what we see in the documentary, and he was so open to be open with me in that process. And for me, that was like quite fundamental in my process, because I was very firm in my belief that I wanted to forget what I'd seen on the stage from what the boys have done so wonderfully before me, and really root my character in the real life inspiration, like fully. And often the person that's this story's based off isn't often alive, or like you can't get hold of them. So I just felt really lucky that he was open to do that with me.
And Lauren, one of my favorite scenes in the film is when Pretty stands up to Dean, and and it kind of mirrors what happened earlier when Jamie stands up to him too. And I felt like you were speaking for a lot of us that haven't been brave enough to do that in real life. I just wondered how sort of empowering that scene was to do.
Yeah, I think that, like you say, she definitely gets a lot of her confidence from seeing Jamie do it earlier in the film, and I think that she's never trying to be mean, and she's not just saying it to hurt his feelings. She needs to give him a bit of a reality check, and I think she gets a bit gassed up by everyone around her. Yeah, no, I loved filming that scene as well. It was a lot of fun.
And did you each have a favorite musical number to either perform in or direct? In your case, Jonathan.
As a director, you're like a dad. It's hard to have favorites. In many ways, you've got to love them all and equally. And I did. Obviously, something that's quite personal to me was This Was Me, because it's new to the film for a start. The song by Dan Gillespie Sells and Tom MacRae is just an amazing song. It stands alone as an amazing song. And then to have it sung by Richard and Holly Johnson, it takes you right back to that moment. And I was a very young man back in that moment, and I was on those marches and very sadly lost friends during that time. And I wanted to make sure that story was passed on and told again. And so obviously that's very personal to me.
There were so many musical numbers for me, obviously, that I got to, take part in, and got to watching the film afterwards that I wasn't part of. I'd say for me, like the most one of the most like dream, like I felt like, wow, I'm in a movie here, is when I did The Wall in My Head, like, because I felt like I was able to draw on my own experience of building up those own walls in my head, and also like felt like I could be so detailed in my performance as an actor, but also showcase my vocal skills as well. And it's one of my favorite songs. It was one of the songs that I watched in the musical initially, and I was like, wow, where can I get this sheet music? Because at the time you couldn't get the sheet music, so I had to like rip it off of someone who like had to get links and try and get the sheet music so I could sing it.
Yeah, I think mine was the ending number, "Place Where We Belong," was just so much fun to film, and like
Out of the darkness.
out of the darkness, and we were just surrounded by these incredible dancers, and all the costumes were great, and we worked so hard on the choreography. Hope it paid off.
Paid off.
So just finally, if there was to be a sequel, and why not? We had Mamma Mia 2. What would you like to see happen?
I'm pushing for everybody's talking about Pretty, where Pretty goes.
He's trying to get me a job.
Pretty goes to university and Jamie's working at like GAY or Heaven, and they like it's their conversation about their next step in life, I guess, as a fierce duo.
Well, Max,
Perfect.
Lauren, Jonathan, thanks very much, and look forward to everybody's talking about Pretty.